Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services in Eastland, Texas. Tune in every week as we share important information to help you and your family live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, legacy and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
Good evening, everybody. This is the Black and White Market Minute on Life Planning 101. How are y'all doing today, gentlemen?
Doing good.
Thank goodness it's Friday.
Yes, I will agree with that one.
This has been a crazy quarter. I think every day this quarter has been a Monday. I mean, has it not felt like that?
I would say so.
So, it's been a long time since we've gotten on and talked, but this has been such a strange quarter. And there's been so much that's happened, but nothing really at all when it comes to price. You know, lots and lots of volatility, lots of things in the news, but nothing's really hurt us. And I think we can say that across the board. And don't know why. We've definitely felt that there's been some ups and downs. Want to go over a couple things right at the beginning here. At the beginning of this quarter, so July 1st, there was pretty much not an attack, but AI was over with. The entire market started selling, and it got very brutal, very fast. Or just look at memory stocks. SanDisk dropped 55% up until the end of July. 1 month, 55%. Western Digital down 27%. Semiconductors as a whole down 23%. Just in a blink of an eye. And that sounds horrible, but you go ahead and take a look at, let's just say Western Digital, that's up 1,600% in the last couple of years. SanDisk is the same way. So unless you're just brand new to this trade, you know, it's pretty much a blip on the radar. But watching it on a day-to-day basis, it's something to behold. And just like that, from July 30th on, guess what? Exactly reversed. SanDisk is up 50%. Golly, let me see, I got the numbers here somewhere. SanDisk is up 57%. Western Digital is about flat. Semiconductors have come back 12%. Just everything in reversed. And I can understand what the market's feeling is. You know, we look at all the debt out there, and I've seen numbers of closer to $3 trillion that's needing to be paid back. How is that going to happen? That's the big fear. But earnings started coming out as well, and earnings are supposed to grow at 50%. Who has ever heard of that? 50% growth. And that's not our calculations. What'd you say that was?
That was according to FactSet.
Yeah. So I think that was a lot of what the market saw and why it started coming back. And, you know, AI is remarkable. I use it almost every day, and it has changed how we do almost everything. Now, you can't trust everything it says, you know, but it's going to change the world.
And one thing... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say with AI, you know, obviously it changes how we do work, but I also have realized it changes how we communicate. Like, not to get too off on a different tangent for it, but with AI, you realize people are always like, it's going to steal our jobs and whatnot, but it's also the communication piece, because how you talk to AI changes the response you get, which is the same with a person. I mean, that's how you got to think about it, because I've realized it's made me think a lot about how I say things and how I type it in there. And I think just talking about AI, you know, that's going to make it grow so much better, is if we learn how to communicate with it properly. That's what's going to really push it.
It's also discounted a lot of things that we used to, I mean, from now on we're going to take for granted, but used to we would be impressed by. So, for instance, I had a report come in reporting performance on an investment, and right as it came through, I was like, oh, this is definitely AI generated. I recognize all of these little tidbits that AI would produce that a human would not go through the trouble of doing. That. Mm-hmm. And so immediately I was thinking, oh, this guy just threw all this information in AI and spit this out. And the presentation was better than a human would do, but I valued it less because AI did
That's
it
true.
Right.
now. And so I just think about how we've, up until this point, not taken presentation and viewing material for granted, but from this point forward especially, audit all of your work. But, I mean, it's less valuable than it used to be to produce a document that looks well for presentation purposes.
Yeah.
Well, and that brings up 2 points with that, though, is you've just proven, though, that AI can't truly take all over because we as humans apparently value a human touch. And as antisocial as Sam is, the fact that he would prefer something made by a person, that goes a long way, people. So,
Very, very true. Here, I'm going to throw a question out there. So the age-old question, age-old since AI came out, that this is going to take all of our jobs. I'm not really in that camp anymore.
right.
I do feel that it will take your job if you refuse to use AI. But I'm starting to wander over into the camp of just straight productivity. For the last 10,000 years, you know, how do you become more productivity as a nation, as a tribe, as a community? And that is just adding more people. Well, we're having, what, 1.7 verse per couple?
I think it's terrible.
What if this fixes that problem from a productivity standpoint, and we just keep plowing ahead? You know, I think it's going to be a lot more valuable than we think, and if people can embrace it, we will all become way more productive, and our jobs should be safer. You'll be able to do a job that you can use.
I mean, it's essentially like what Google and the internet was. It was,
Yes.
you know, people were scared of the internet, and now it's just a mainstream piece of our lives. And I even realized that, you know, back in the day, people probably got annoyed by people saying, oh, well, just go Google it if I asked you a question. Well, now everyone's like, well, just go AI it. And I get so annoyed at it, but I've realized that that's kind of what it's become now, is it's just an enhanced Google for a lot.
My kids still give me a hard time. They'll ask me a question, and usually my first response is, do you have your phone on you? Let's Google that. You know, but you're exactly right. Let's start tearing apart some of this. Speaking of all the memory, we were talking about SanDisk dropping. Did you see what happened to Korea? Before we start, Korea is, if you invest in Korea, if you invest in their index or whatever, you're basically getting two companies, and they're both tech companies. And that was probably one of the hottest markets on the planet. And all the normal people in Korea were buying their index leveraged 3-to-1, 10-to-1, and then boom, it started dropping. And it's this memory stuff, and it dropped huge. They put some IPOs on the U.S. markets, and that was supposed to be great, but it was just a liquidity event, and it was so bad. What was it, 70% or something like that? The government is stepping in and making rules on how much leverage your individual retail investor can use. A lot of people learned their lesson. So that happened right in the middle of all of this. So, I mean, there was just so much. I have a little list here. Let me see that list. Another big one, speaking about things overseas, is Japan. Japan might be the most important country in the world when it comes to investing, for the sheer fact that I can borrow in Japanese yen and go buy anything I want. Interest rates have almost always been zero. You can pretty much anticipate that the Japanese yen is going to depreciate, so you can leverage up whatever you want to do, borrow a whole ton of money, and pay back less at the end of the day. And huge institutions have been doing that forever, and they've been buying real estate. They buy U.S. stocks. They buy everything. If you want to be safe, you turn around and buy treasuries. You know, that's the carry trade. Well, that started to disrupt. You know, interest rates are going up. Having currency problems over there. Just like here in the U.S., the Treasury ministers and everybody else is disagreeing on how to take care of this. And it's a scary situation, just adding to volatility. There's actually no number out there of how much money is levered to the Jap, how big this carry trade is. But I'm guessing it's pretty big. Our government stepped in, and it looks like they started buying back long-term treasuries, which is huge. This is called the not QE trade, because I think he was directly asked, and that was his answer. This is not QE, but it had huge effects, and gold has been on a rip. What is it at 4,600 right now? Somewhere around in there. Bitcoin has jumped from the 60s to the 70s, and that is one of the things that surprised me the most. I don't know what y'all feel, but to me it's like the narrative of Bitcoin hasn't changed. It just strengthened. The demand for Bitcoin has dropped because of AI, and all of that compute that was used for mining is now going to AI. But with the first instance of US dollar trouble, where did everybody run? Bitcoin and gold just boom. So it's still there. It's people still know what it's for, and it's moved huge. I was very happy to see that.
Well, and I would pushing back a little bit on your, not pushing back, but I guess aligned with your. It's not just that the compute was going to AI, but the capital has been flowing from somewhere into AI as well.
Yes.
So there's less to go into the Bitcoin. I mean, if you're buying Bitcoin and all of a sudden you see Anthropic is about to IPO at some point in the near future, I saw a report today it's supposed to be bigger than SpaceX, which was the biggest one since 2006 or whatever it was. And so, I mean, it's all a competition for capital when you're looking at prices. And the fact that the AI trade became less interesting has probably, and then you tackle on all of the stuff that's been going on recently between higher for longer and everything else. And Bitcoin's been had a good run this week.
But look at how all those data miners, every one of them are selling their miners, selling the use of their miners to AI. So if you don't have somebody mining and technically buying on a second-by-second basis, what happens? It's going to get weak in a hurry.
So on the economics of that, if you have a miner and it gets paid to mine Bitcoin, but the price of Bitcoin falls below the profitability, instead of shutting the miner down, are you able to rent out that miner compute for AI for temporary?
You can do it temporarily. You just stop mining. So there's less competition for that, less supply of Bitcoin. So I guess would be good in the long term, but yes and no, because we're almost out of Bitcoin right now. Extremely hard to mine, but at the end, we're still going to have to mine to make transactions go through. It's just going to be a price to win the trade. And if there's not much there, I guess it'll be economics. If there's only one miner out there getting the transactions done, he's going to get paid a lot, and then somebody else says, I want a part of that. So economics will prevail.
Well, and I think another piece in all of these situations when we're talking about Anthropic or IPOs and all this is that there is that third category of popularity of fads that I think comes into it nowadays that you see just because everyone, you can get on Robinhood really easily and trade now. And so just like with SpaceX, there's no correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no capital from it. It's not generating anything. So why was it such a big deal? Because it was Elon Musk. There was popularity around it that fueled everyone to say, oh, I want to buy this. And that's kind of what happened with Bitcoin for a little bit. It hit a fad of where everyone was like, oh, we need to be a part of it. And then that fad tapered off, and then now it's becoming more of a staple because there's more regulation around it. The government's talking about it, which makes it a staple in there. But that's also what AI is doing. AI is the next big thing, so it's popular. It's the popular kid. It's the new kid on the block of the investments. And so just kind of like what you were saying with this other IPO that may be coming up that's going to be bigger. That's just because now we have to one up things because, SpaceX came in with its fancy bling, but now what's the next big thing? It becomes a popularity contest of investments almost.
And I don't think people understand the volume of this. NVIDIA just put out a deal, a $500 billion debt deal to sell their chips. And it's not to sell their chips directly, but to invest in other companies that are going to buy their chips. So it is roundabout. But Broadcom came out, was it today or yesterday? And there's another $90 billion. It is just, there's so much money chasing this. It is scaring people. And, the technology behind it, the memory, the lasers, the energy, those guys are going to get paid. It's the people like Amazon and Google that are actually trying to sell this compute at the end of the day. That's the question. How can they do it? But, I have a really good feeling they're going to be able to sell it. It's just too big. Now, the price should drop astronomically, but if the entire world is increasing their productivity 3x, 5x, what would you pay for that? 1x what you're doing now? 2x what you're doing now? All the way up to, 5. It's going to be interesting how it turns out. It's just, can these companies stay solvent and continue to pay? Give you an example. I don't know. Did we talk about Amazon the other day? That was one company that had a ton of free cash flow. So just think of free cash flow as at the end of the day, how much cash is still in your bank account. Well, Amazon went negative, which isn't really new for Amazon, but it's new for them recently. When AWS really got big, they started printing cash like crazy. So them going negative was strange and it was alarming. But it was their decision. They went out and spent so much money on their data centers and astronomical hundreds of billions of dollars investing in themselves, which made that go negative. So big question, is that going to be worth it? Would I rather have that free cash flow in my pocket or give it to Amazon that's growing 30+% a year on the AWS? There's the question. What do you do?
Whenever we look at investments, though, I wouldn't go and say money that I have for my cash flow needs to go to it, though. That's anytime I look at investments, it's money that I can stand to.
Well, it's longer term. So
Right.
Think about this. I give you $1 back. What are you going to do with that dollar in your IRA? Are you going to invest in something that's making 30%? Or are you just going to rely on Amazon to do it? So that's kind of the way I think about it. If I need cash for day-to-day living, my wife will tell me what to do there.
Similar to a dividend policy. If
Yeah.
your company can
Yes, sir.
have better returns than you can, then you want your company to not issue dividends because then you have to pay taxes on it in theory. Whereas if your company's going to go and buy treasuries, well, you might as well take the dividend and go invest it in something that's going to beat treasuries. So
Yes, absolutely. So what else have y'all been seeing out there? You said something there that piqued my memory. War's another big one.
yeah, I was looking at the Russian, is it not Russian ruble? Is it the Iranian, is it ruble? I'm having trouble remembering now.
I don't know.
I know it's
Real.
I haven't been there in a while.
I think it was the rial. Anyways, if you look at the currency, the Iranian currency, I think it's the rial,
Yes.
to the U.S. dollar, it looks flat until I think the early 26 when this war started, and then it just goes berserk. I think it was either a quarter or 500,000 rial to the U.S. dollar, and then this war started, and I think it's in the millions to the U.S. dollar now. And they just came out, Trump said it's going to be economic D-Day for Iran with everything going on. So they're starting to really put Iran in a corner economically.
Yeah.
And, on top of that, I think something else that he brought out today was he's going to start importing beef. I didn't see what country he's going to be bringing it in, but tariff-free. So it's kind of interesting. It's not that he's backing off of the tariffs, but the sensitive parts of the economy that people buy day to day, he's really trying to make sure before these midterms that they're starting to feel some relief. At the same time that he's willing to suffer some pain economically for the Iran war, which is pretty
What do
interesting.
you think about that? I mean, we're in Texas, so it's like people messing with oil. We know it's going to affect us economically.
It's a good time to buy cows if the price is going down.
Yeah. That's my point. What about the ranchers?
Yeah.
They've spent money like crazy and free beef.
Yeah. Well, and as it relates to cattle specifically, I was thinking about it earlier. You might think, well, it just takes about a year to get your herd back up, because if each mama cow has a calf, well, if you butcher all those calves, you're in the exact same spot as you were a year ago. So it's going to be a year after year consecutively of growing your herd in order to get to where you can feed the Americans that you're trying to feed without having to charge them too much for it. So it's going to be a long process to get out of this, and I think this Band-Aid is going to be about as short-lived as the yield.
My daughter's in vet school, and she came back one weekend to visit, and she was giving us economics on raising cattle. I didn't know they did economics in vet school, but she was laying it all out for us, and it's like 3 years to break even, and you're going to want to stay with your herd for like 7 years to make it work. So what people don't understand, you have this cow, it's beautiful, it pops out a baby, hey, looky there, I just doubled my money. But no, you have to feed those things in the wintertime. When the green grass disappears, there's no more food. So you got to be spending money on hay. Those cows need to be taken care of. I know we don't want any antibiotics or anything like that, but we still take care of them. If they're sick, we give them medicine. We deworm them. We try to keep the flies off them. There's medicine. There's constant uptake. If you're going to go check on them, guess what? You got to drive something. Unless you live on the ranch and you're in the center and you can see everywhere. You're driving something or buying a Ranger, or you got a tractor for your hay. There's a lot more expenses to it, and it takes a long time to make money. So I have the feeling that these short-term price fluctuations just causes these guys to lose money.
Mm-hmm.
Price goes up, they get excited, spend a bunch of money, goes back down to normal, lost it all.
Yep.
And I hate to see it.
I remember last year I was hearing stories of somebody driving from North Texas to South Texas. He'd buy cattle in North Texas, drive it down to South Texas, and he'd have purchasers from Mexico driving across the border into South Texas, and they would buy cattle at a premium over what the guy bought it at in North Texas. And so every week he was just pretty much buying cattle, traveling south and selling it. I'm not sure how this development changes that, but it's pretty, it's fun to think about.
Yeah, you think about it, Brett's up in Montana. They can grow that super hot hay, and they can sell it for enough down here in Texas that it makes sense for them to throw it on an 18-wheeler and drive it all the way down here, which that just blows me away for grass.
Yeah.
I know it's hotter than that. A lot of it's alfalfa, but they have straight coastal that has a lot more nutrients in it than here. So, anyways, the expenses are more complicated than we would think.
Yeah. Going back to really quick, this probably what I find the most interesting thing that happened this week. Whenever Besant bought back those long-dated treasuries in order to try to depress the long-dated yield and try to get interest rates down on the longer extended part of the curve, and then the very next day or the next 2 days, it just whipped right back to where it was and kept on rising. Do you think that that's a projection of inflation? What are your thoughts around that? Because that's pretty interesting. I know that I read somebody said that's like trying to put a quarter on a down payment for a house or something.
Yeah.
Where it's just a drop in the bucket. It really isn't going to make any difference other than it's a good sentiment for the market.
I think when we started these podcasts, we were very alarmed that we hit $30 trillion.
Oh.
We just hit $40 trillion. So if you're going to buy a 30-year bond, are you going to do that for 5%? What would you have to get paid to hold U.S. money for the next 30 years? You know, inflation might be a part of that, but, you know, we just did away with the penny. So we didn't do away with the penny. We knocked 4 cents off of every purchase we made, right? It's not 1 cent, it's 4 cents. Now they're talking about doing that with a nickel. You know, so there's 10 cents. There's 10% inflation that the government's just telling us that they're going to do right now. So you do a 30-year bond, you know 10 cents of that is gone for every dollar. You going to do it for 5%?
Nope.
Yeah.
You better get something that has some inflation hedge to it.
Like you were saying, something like a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. Yeah, no way. And if we're not doing $10 trillion every 3 years. Let's say we're doing 25% every 3 years. You know, so where are we going to be? 100 trillion, 200? Yeah, it's going to be way more than 100 trillion. I can't do that math in my brain. It's going to be huge. 200-300 trillion. What's our dollar going to be worth? Are they going to have to default, or are they just going to inflate it away? But I sure the hell am not taking that for 5% a year. So he can't do anything except in the short term. And I think that's why we saw gold go nuts, saw Bitcoin go nuts, because the country, the world said, okay, this is real. Even the government's worried about it. Let's take advantage.
Yep.
I love that. That's been my biggest aha in the last week or so. Other thing, just straight inflation, I know that is creeping up. And that is the most head-scratching and the most complicated thing I think we could all wrap our heads around. We're feeling it right now with oil, and it's easy to see. But what happens if all of a sudden we are a nuclear country? What if an Oklo or somebody like that can come in and start slapping down nuclear reactors? We get one in Eastland, Texas, you know. What happens to the price of oil? How long is that going to take? Actually, that's going to be real life in the next 5 to 7 years. I think long-term inflation comes down. The deflation of AI just sucks the air out of all of that, and every bit of this is deflationary. I really think that's what's going to happen. There's just going to be a lot of pain between now and then. If we look at inflationary pressures right now, I think most of that comes from the war. And who is Iran selling oil to? I think that's mostly China, right? Almost all of it.
I think 80% was the last number I saw.
Yeah, so them cutting that off, I would say the biggest surprise is China is not throwing an absolute fit about what's going on. I know they came out today and they said, no, we're really not going to enforce, what is it?
Trump's D-Day stuff.
Yes, yeah. We really don't care about that.
Yeah, I would
But the cool thing, did you see that? China's energy usage dropped by an astronomical amount too.
Mm-hmm.
So that had the world scratching its head. That's another thing. Have y'all looked into anything on Chinese technology?
No, the thing I've been reading about lately is they just sentenced one man to life in China who was responsible for a big fraud for their development, so real estate development. He got sentenced to life, and he was doing a bunch of shady stuff. And
how much of that was shady versus how much was it? I mean,
they got to pin it on somebody.
You may have still been in junior high, but they were building entire ghost towns. I'm talking 20, 30-story hotels, apartments with 0 people in them. And you'd go down the street to the next one, 0 people. convenience store, 0 people. I mean, it was entire ghost towns that they were just spinning, building, and nobody was there. Is that fraud?
That's what they call it.
I'm not saying it is or isn't, but I think that was. We look like idiots. I got to blame somebody.
I got to pin the tail on a donkey somewhere.
Yes, that's kind of where I feel that is.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I did see that.
Yeah. Well, what do you have on their technology usage?
Well, you know they came out with their AI language, and lo and behold, they didn't need all the energy. They didn't need all the data, and it was able to train a lot faster, a lot more efficient. I don't know. I can't remember when that came out. Maybe last year sometime.
Are you referring to the DeepSeek one that
Yes.
had everybody disrupted?
DeepSeek.
Last year, maybe year before.
Yes. Well, when all of this stuff happened with SanDisk and Western Digital, they came out with a new memory usage, and same dang thing. You know, hey, we can do this the same way, just a lot more efficiently. So their technology is catching up very, very quickly. And one of the greatest head-scratching moments was I was reading, you know, Trump has done a lot of things to keep technology out, and it's not just Trump. The U.S. government has done a lot of things to keep technology out of China's hands. Well, that put them in a corner, and it forced them to build it themselves, and they did. And they've done it exceptionally well. So did we awaken the lion, and all of a sudden they're going to have a technological advantage over us? Because one thing that they have that we don't have is all of their minerals, their rare earths and everything else. That's a huge, huge advantage. I don't think we understand how big of an advantage that is.
They're ahead of us on energy, too.
Yes. So that part's going to be, it's going to be very, very interesting. And I would hate to think that we created all of this because of our tariffs and all of that. When they cut their energy usage, when Iran started doing that, that's the first place my mind went to, is like, holy cow, how are they producing this? What are they doing to get, without having to use oil? Because they did it. Don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something.
You know, maybe it's my patriotism, but whenever you look at, which it wasn't Merck, but Merck was a part of it, they came out with they call it a vaccine for melanoma cancer.
Moderna.
Yeah. Moderna was up at least at one point 150% a day.
197.
It peaked at 197, yeah. And so I think about that, and maybe it's more concentrated in the healthcare sector, but I mean, with all of the problems in our healthcare, we still have the most dominant by leaps and bounds in terms of healthcare development, cancer treatments, all of those things. And I like to, at least in my head, it may not be reality, but I hope it is, correlate that to all of the other industries that we work in. So maybe China is catching up on some things, but I like to think that it's more that they are doing something Jim calls their R&D department, where they rob and duplicate.
That's been what they've done.
Yeah.
And I love the patriotism, but here's what I'm worried about. Everybody sees what's going on in Europe. It's not good. If China can start to produce technology that is 30% of the cost of the U.S. that can do the same thing, at what point do they not say, okay, China, let's do this, shake my hand? Is it 30? Is it 20? That's the part that scares me. And that's what they're doing. They're able to do it right now at such a lower cost. Then when is that fear of China going to go away? Hopefully never.
Yeah.
But we need more likable people in our government that can bridge that gap. And we need more likable, common sense people in Europe that can bridge that gap as well. Lots of weird stuff going on.
Yeah, I don't think they have common sense over there. I don't know what they call it, but it's not common sense.
Yeah.
It's probably common pounds.
That's terrible.
That was great.
That was a dad joke.
That was terrible.
Put that in the newsletter.
I like that. I thought that was.
Well, did we cover everything, or is there anything left outstanding?
I think we got everything.
All right, do you want to do a famous sign-off?
What does that mean?
You typically have y'all have a great Thanksgiving kind of sign-off.
Okay.
Well, it's not Thanksgiving.
Hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. Hey guys, I'm gonna get back to making this a more regular thing. Getting close to the end of the summer, or I guess summer's ended, so really looking forward to seeing everybody. God bless y'all, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services. If you have questions, you can email them to lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more Life Planning 101. The opinions expressed herein are those of the firm and are subject to change without notice. The opinions referenced are as of the date of publication and are subject to change due to changes in the market or economic conditions and may not necessarily come to pass. Any opinions, projections, or forward-looking statements expressed herein are solely those of the author, may differ from the views or opinions expressed by other areas of the firm, and are only for general informational purposes as of the date indicated. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Smart Money Group LLC. Kennedy Financial Services and Smart Money Group LLC are separate entities and are not owned or controlled by Calton & Associates Incorporated.